Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be setting up our family budget in my Erin Condren Deluxe monthly planner for the month of April, and I'm using a kit from Truce Paperie. I purchased the monthly kit and I added on an extra set of transparent stickers. I'm going to start with the monthly overview, and I decided to try to white out the April 2020 because it does peek through these stickers a little bit, and I figured since I have plenty of whiteout, I might as well use it. I really love the simplicity of these stickers, and they add just the right amount of color for my budget planner. I'm adding these top banners and lining them up with the top edge of the page. And then I'm using these long strips to cover up the kaleidoscope design on the page. Next, I'm adding these scallop strips to cover up the days that are not included in April. I like to use this page to write down all of these transactions throughout the month for the 5 categories that I am keeping track of, which include groceries, dining out, gas, household, and unbudgeted. And I have all of those categories color-coded, so I do like to write myself a little key on the sidebar. This page is complete for now, so I'm going back to the very first page where I like to write my budget for the month. For this page, I am using a transparent sticker, so I'm writing directly on the page. Our April budget is like a snapshot of all of our finances for this month. At the top of the page, I write our income. My husband gets 2 paychecks this month, and we also have a rental in Washington, and then my husband gets VA disability. Normally all of these numbers are the same, but sometimes, like with our rental property, if there is something that needs to be fixed, it comes directly out of our account before we even receive any income. And then sometimes my husband will get reimbursed for any business expenses, so that will be included in his work paychecks. I'm using the sticker to separate our income from our expenses. These are the perfect little dividers. I like to separate our expenses into variable and fixed, mainly because it gives me plenty of space to write down all of our expenses. It can get a little confusing because we do utilize credit cards, so technically all of the credit card amounts are from the previous month, but I like to put little stars next to all of the categories that we use credit cards to purchase. I like to write down every single item that we are paying off every month to make sure that everything is being paid and to also see how much we are spending on certain items. The one change for this month is that I added baselaying to the fixed expenses. This was the unbudgeted item from last month, and it is the program that my husband subscribed to in order to help him learn to speak Spanish. Right now, he actually ended up putting that on hold because there was such an influx of people trying to learn Spanish as well, since so many people are staying at home, and there currently aren't enough teachers to have enough classes for all of the people that are subscribed. Last month, my husband was able to schedule a class just 10 minutes before it even started, and now whenever he is looking for a class, they're usually completely booked for the next 2 weeks. And I think there are other tools with the program, but my husband really wants to utilize the one-on-one native speaker conversation. So hopefully they are able to hire more teachers. I know they had sent an email saying that they are trying to hire a lot more teachers so that everyone will be able to have a chance to get a class. But I believe we already paid for this month, so I am going to leave it in the budget. I am not sure how putting the program on hold is going to affect that, but I will make any changes that I need to in May. Underneath the expenses, I use another sticker as a divider, and below that I write all of our saving information. Since we are putting so much into sinking funds, we usually don't have a whole lot left over to put into savings, but with everything going on, we have been able to save a lot more, so I'm really curious to see how much we are able to save this month. We actually just received our stimulus check, and of course when I was writing the budget, I had no idea that that was going to be coming this month. I think what I'm going to do is just write myself a little note on the notes pages, and we are going to be putting that money directly into our savings. We have been very blessed that my husband is able to work from home, so we are still able to pay all of our bills. And I had read articles giving advice about what to do with the stimulus check. Of course, it went through all of the most important things that you should be paying off first, and then it mentioned that if you are still able to pay your bills, to put it directly into savings, just in case anything were to happen in the future. Moving on to the notes page, I will be covering all of the kaleidoscope design using stickers. And as much as I don't like this page before all the stickers, I absolutely love how it looks afterward. From the little sneak peek of the new Erin Condren planners, the only notes page that I remember seeing was in the colorful layers version, and it looked like there was a little bit of change to the design. They didn't have an arch over the month, and instead had the layers design at the bottom of one box and the top of another. Since there are going to be two different versions of the new planners, I am curious to see how Etsy shops are going to manage this. And in particular, I'm really curious to see what Cindy Latruce of Truce Paperie does, because I absolutely love her stickers. And one of my favorite parts of all of her stickers is this floral arch that she has been doing. So knowing that next year's planners aren't going to be having this arch over the month does make me a little sad, but I am excited to see what she comes out with. For these notes pages, I have been pretty happy with how I am filling up all of these boxes. In the top right box, I write down our April goals, and a lot of that usually includes where we are going to be paying extra, and every month we try to make donations to different organizations, so that is also included in this goal section, how much we're going to pay and which organizations we are going to be donating to. Underneath that box, I have been using that to write down any notes that I need to remember for next month. So sinking fund categories that I want to add and how much I think I should add each month. Little reminders to add things to our budget and any ideas I might have for future donations. For the box on the top left, I write down any events that are happening this month, anything that might affect our finances. So for this month, I wrote it was my nephew's first birthday, Easter on the 12th, and my husband and I are celebrating 13 years together on the 18th. This isn't our wedding anniversary, it's our dating anniversary, but we usually do something special on this day as well. Obviously, this year it has been a little different. We were not able to celebrate my nephew's birthday yet, so that is definitely something to keep in mind for the future. For whenever we do celebrate his birthday, I do want to get him a nice gift. I was still able to buy everything we needed for Easter, and for our anniversary, I will hopefully be able to make a nice dinner for us. At the very bottom of this box, I like to keep track of my credit score. We started the whole process of purchasing our home a year ago, so my credit has gone up quite a bit since then. As far as the huge notes page on the left-hand side, this is where I like to write down my calculations. I like to calculate all of our bills for the first half of the month and then all of our bills for the second half of the month. I want to make sure that we have enough money in the account to pay off everything that's going to be coming out. A lot of our bills are on auto pay and they come out on a specific day, so I don't want there to ever be an issue with that. And then towards the end of the month, I will be able to calculate how much will be going into savings. For the box at the very bottom of the right page, this is where I like to keep track of all of our debt, my student loans, my car, my husband's car, and our 2 houses. When we had received our tax return in March, I was originally going to pay off all of my student loans, but with everything going on, there is currently no interest being charged on my student loans up until September, and when I calculated it out, I will actually be finished paying off my student loans by then, so that works out perfectly and I don't have to pay it all off right now. Moving on to the first notes page after the monthly overview, this is where I keep our weekly check-in. Since I am keeping track of 5 different categories, it really helps to have these weekly check-ins to see how we're doing, and it gives us a good idea if we are going to be over budget or under budget for any category. Obviously, right now we are going through a very unique situation, so we have been spending a lot less in every category aside from groceries. April is the first full month where we are in self-quarantine, so I should be able to get a better idea of our spending habits, and I'll be able to adjust our budget for May. One thing I do want to mention is that I left our dining out budget a little bit higher than we'll probably spend because I wanted to make sure that we had enough money in there so that we would be able to give good tips whenever we do decide to get takeout. For my weekly check-in, I like to divide the month into 4 weeks, generally from Sunday to Saturday, but for this month I am considering the first week from the 1st through the 11th, and the last week is from the 26th through the 30th. We really haven't had too many transactions so far, so these weekly check-ins have been pretty simple to calculate. In the first column, I write out all of the different weeks. In the second column is where I write each category for every week. Again, the categories that we are tracking are groceries, dining out, gas, household, and unbudgeted. In the next column, it is the amount that was spent for that week. And then based on how much I had budgeted for that category, I calculate how much is remaining. And then in the very last column, I calculate how much is remaining per week. Towards the bottom, instead of calculating how much is remaining per week, I have a little section to write notes to explain why we are over or under budget. One of the main reasons why I add on an extra set of transparent stickers is so that I have enough transparent strips for this page. I love using these stickers as a divider, and since they are transparent, I am still able to utilize this space. So along with dividing each section, I'm also highlighting the headers. Flipping over to the next page, this is where I like to write my spending log. It is a great place for me to keep track of all of my packages and to also get a good idea of how much I am spending. Last month, I surprisingly had a pretty short list, but I have a feeling that this month is going to be pretty long. I have just been really wanting to support all of the shops that I love, and since we are not spending much on anything besides groceries, I do feel okay about supporting my favorite shops. The way I like to set up this page is write the date in the first column, the amount in the second column, and then I have the description of what was ordered, and the last 2 columns I am able to check off if they were shipped and delivered. As much as I love surprise happy mail, it is really nice to know that all of my orders are getting to me. Moving on to the next page, this is where I write my transaction log for my sinking funds, and I had explained in the March budget setup video that the reason why I switched the sinking funds page with the transaction log was because when I am filming the results video, I like to close out my sinking funds on camera, calculate everything out, and it was really difficult to write down all the numbers with the coil getting in the way. But anyways, the way I set up my transaction log is I have the date in the first column, the amount in the second column, the third column is where I write the sinking fund category, and the last column is for the description. So this page is basically where I am able to calculate what is getting taken out of our sinking funds. And the last page for our monthly budget is the actual sinking funds page. This is where I am able to keep track of each individual category. Our sinking funds are in a separate savings account. For the most part, I am able to make one transaction at the very end of the month. I have set up this page with the category in the first column. The second column is the beginning balance for each category. And in the next column is where I write how much is added to each fund. And then in the results video, based on the transaction log, I will be able to calculate how much is subtracted from each fund. And in the very last column will be the ending balance for each category, and these numbers are what I will be using for the beginning balance for our May sinking funds. This month, I only want to be adding $2,000 to sinking funds, so now I need to figure out how much is going to be going into each category. There are certain categories where I already have a set amount, so I will be putting those in first and then calculating how much is left over. For our 10-year, I add $300 every month, and I already know that we are not going to be taking anything out of this category, so I am already writing in our ending balance. Next is entertainment. I usually add $100 every month. I know we won't be able to utilize it right now, but I figured we could save up and do something really special once we are able to travel again. For gifts, I'm adding $100 because I know the birthdays are going to continue adding up. For holidays, I add $125 every month. For medical, $150. Invisalign, $100. I have already saved enough for the deposit, so now I'm just adding a little bit because I'm not really sure what my monthly payment will be, and I was supposed to start in March, but obviously I can't start right now. So by the time I actually start, I might be able to just pay it all off, but we will see. School is set at $300. Car maintenance is $50 and home maintenance is $150. Diapers is $50. Bill is $75. And family pictures is actually a new category that I'm adding this month. We usually take family photos in November, and I calculated that we need about $300 in total for the photographer and also the cards that we get printed out, plus the stamps to send them to all of our family, and that comes out to $25 a month. But since I'm starting in April, I wanted to make up for the first few months of the year. I'm adding $100 to this fund this month. Those are pretty much the set amounts, and now I am going back and seeing how much is left over and dividing it among the rest of the categories. I'm adding $100 to travel, and then $50 each to makeup and clothes for my husband, clothes for me, and clothes for the boys. I also ended up adding an extra $50 to gifts and an extra $100 to medical. And at the very bottom, I'm writing the totals. I already have the total beginning balance and the total amount that we are adding this month. And in my results video, I will be able to calculate how much is going to be taken out of our sinking funds and ultimately how much is actually going to be added to this account. And that is all for my budget setup for the month of April. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.